Hi everybody, it's Taylor here from Tailored Expressions, and I'm stopping by today to share with you some things I've been working on. I've been working a lot with embossing paste and having lots of fun with it, so I wanted to share a few of the tips and things I've learned along the way. This is the embossing paste that I use. It's Windy Vecchi. I typically mostly use the white embossing paste. If you've never used it before, I'll open it up. It's just kind of a thicker, creamy, pasty type product. And it comes in lots of different varieties. So I also have metallic gold, I have translucent, and I have metallic silver. But like I said, I typically use the white because after it dries, there are lots of different options for changing the color. You can use embossing powder, you can use Copic markers, you can use your airbrush. So that's why I'm usually grabbing for the white, but sometimes I do want a little more pop, so I'll use some of the other colors. So I don't own a lot of stencils, so I was trying to find a way that I could use my TE products with embossing paste. So I grabbed a few of my cutting plates, and I'm going to show you a couple of the techniques I use to turn these cutting plates into stencils that you can use with embossing paste. So I'm going to move a few of these things out of the way here. And first, I'll show you, this is the finished card. I use the Gathered Blooms cutting plate here as my stencil, and I'm going to show you kind of how I achieved this look. I already have the stencil. Actually, I'm calling this a stencil. It's just our cutting plate cut out of 100-pound cardstock. You can also cut it out twice and glue the two together if you would like a little bit thicker look. But I find with this particular technique that I'm going to show you that just one cut from 100-pound cardstock works great. So I have it taped down already. I would recommend just using this Scotch tape around the outside of the cutting plate to tape it down to a larger piece of paper. After you do that, you're going to want to grab your embossing paste, and this is just a little palette knife that I picked up at Michael's. You can grab these just about anywhere. You can also use a piece of scrap paper to kind of scrape your product on there. I really like the tool because of this flat end, and I just feel like I get better results. So I prefer the tool, but if you don't have that, don't let it stop you. You can use just a piece of scrap paper folded in half. So I'm going to grab quite a bit of this paste from the jar, and I'm just going to spread it over the top of the cutting plate here. And it's going to seem like you're getting quite a bit on there, and that's okay, that's good. So I'm actually going to grab some more. And what we're going to do after I spread it all over is we're going to scrape a good portion of it back into the jar. You know, we don't want to be wasteful. This will go a long way. You can make lots of cards with this one jar of product. So just kind of evenly scrape it over your surface. Make sure you get inside all of the holes. Then I have some left already. I will go ahead and scrape that back in. And then I'm going to take this flat portion and I'm going to go ahead and evenly scrape over the rest of the surface. You'll see some of the cardstock start to pop back through, and that's good. You don't want to scrape it too hard, but just a nice even scraping over the top. And if you see that you've missed some portions, I can see I missed a little spot down here and one up here. Just go back in with some extra paste and scrape that down to the bottom. I usually try to do my scraping in the direction of the pattern. So if I had a diagonal pattern, I would scrape diagonally. Now after that, you can go ahead and take, you don't want to wait for it to dry. So you want to go ahead and take your template off, and I have it taped down here, so I'm going to try to remove the pieces of tape as I go. It's a little bit messy to do this, and you want to make sure that you clean up your supplies before they dry for sure. So I'm just going to pull this off, and you can kind of see the white on white pattern there. Now I would take all of these pieces of tape off, and you would see a little bit of extra around the outside. That's not going to matter for our card because we are going to go ahead and cut that off. So let me see if I can get some of these pieces of tape off here. And then after you get all the pieces of tape off, I changed, you can see on my finished card here, I have a blue embossing paste. The way that I got that is I took my Zing embossing powder, and the color is actually called powder. And before your embossing paste dries, you just want to sprinkle that over the top of the entire portion. And then I'll take a piece of scrap paper, and I'm just going to do a small part of it so that you can get the idea. But there you see that it turned the color blue, and if I grab my embossing gun, you can heat it up. Now, when you're heating, just be careful because this does bubble. You don't want to burn your embossing paste. So there you can see it start to bubble. Now once it begins to bubble, move on to the next section, otherwise you'll end up burning it, and nobody likes burnt embossing paste or embossing powder. I have one that is already completed, so let me just bring that here. This is one that I already did, so it's all dry. You can see it's a little bit more impressive than just doing the embossing powder because it stands up off of your paper. I don't know if you can see the detail and how it stands up there. It gives it nice dimension. So in order to add a little bit more interest to this pattern, I wanted to color in portions of the flowers. So I grabbed a few of my Copics and just went in on the open white portions and added the detailing that I wanted. So it was really pretty easy all together, and I think it produces a really fantastic card in the end. I did use one other stencil. I keep calling these stencils, but they're actually just our cutting plates, and then I cut out from 100-pound cardstock. I didn't mention before, but after you're done using this, here's the one we used for the Gathered Blooms card, you do want to throw this away. It can't be used again. And actually, truth be told, I kind of like that because I'm not very good at cleaning up. And so this, I can just throw it away instead of a stencil where I would have to go to the sink and wash it off. So anyway, that's a plus for me. So I'm going to toss this one in the garbage. And then another nice thing is that you can selectively choose what you would like to use with the embossing paste. So for my next project, I have this card here. That's the finished card. And these are actually, that is embossing paste here. So you can see I didn't use the entire plate, I just used that one portion. So I'm going to show you how I did that. You just want to cut off the part of the design that you want to use. So just quickly run down like this, and down this side. And if you're doing multiples of these, you can actually get 3 of these templates from one cutting plate. Then we have just a piece of paper that I've cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have this, this is called masking, actually I'm not sure the brand on this. I think, I'll have to check into that and post here on the video, but I use this, it's kind of like a post-it note stickiness. And that's what I use to adhere this template down. So I'm going to just cut a few strips of this off. And then when you go to adhere it, you want to make sure you put the tape in between all of the crevices so that only the portion that you want of the pattern is left showing. So I just go down the whole top and bottom of this design, leaving open the 2 rows that I want to show. So there's what the top will look like. And then I have one that I've already taped down, so this is what it looks like when it's all completed. And then you do want to grab a little bit of extra cardstock. I'm just going to cut some of this off here. that you can put on the top to cover that up, just in case you get a little bit out of bounds, which can happen pretty easily with the embossing powder. So I have that. I'm missing a little spot here. And then I am going to tape those pieces down. And take the whole design down to my table. Alright, then I'm going to go ahead and grab my embossing paste again. You should probably cover this every time you use it, because it does dry up pretty quickly, so make sure you put that cover back on there. And then once again, we're just going to scrape the paste over the design here. Nice and evenly. If you want it a little bit thicker, you can go thicker. If you like the thin look, just kind of experiment with it yourself and see what you like. And it might vary by whatever project or template or stencil you're using. So then scrape it evenly across the surface and return the excess back to your jar. Of course, put the cover on it. And I just clean my little knife here with a baby wipe. That makes it really easy and quick. I don't have to run to the sink. So again, you're going to want to pull the stencil off of your paper after you're finished with this. I have one that I've already completed here, so I'll set that aside and show you what that looks like. So this is what it looks like after you have taken the stencil off and let it dry. After it dries, you can change the color to whatever you want with Copic markers. So I chose a rainbow of colors here, and you can just color right over the top of the embossing paste with your marker. And you want to make sure that you go a little slower, because the embossing paste is raised, and you know, if you fall off the edge while you're coloring, it's going to go right on your paper, and then you're not going to get your colored design. It's going to look a little blobby. So just go nice and slow. I have one that I have finished here. This is what it looked like after I colored all of the chevrons, and then the finished card is right here. So there are lots of different things you can try with this. I encourage you to grab all of your different cutting plates, try lots of different patterns, cut them up, see what happens, and I would love to see what you come up with. So share with us on our Facebook page. I hope you learned something new today, and thanks for stopping by.